On November 21, 2025, the Oval Office became the stage for a meeting that few Americans, or political analysts, could have ever predicted. The air was thick with anticipation, as the world's most powerful office prepared to host a conversation that would challenge the boundaries of American politics. President Donald Trump, now in his second term and more polarizing than ever, sat across from Zohran Mamdani, the newly elected Democratic Socialist mayor of New York City. The contrast between them was striking. Trump, the face of conservative populism, and Mamdani, a symbol of the city's progressive surge. Outside, a sea of reporters and camera crews jostled for position, their lenses trained on the White House doors. The media frenzy reflected the nation's curiosity and skepticism. What could possibly come from this meeting of political opposites? President Trump, grappling with low approval ratings and mounting criticism from within his own party, saw this summit as a chance to demonstrate leadership and perhaps reset the narrative. He hoped to show the country that he could reach across the aisle, even to someone as ideologically distant as Mamdani. For Mamdani, the city's first Muslim and Asian American mayor, the stakes were equally high. Fresh off a stunning electoral victory, he entered the White House determined to advocate for his progressive agenda: affordable housing, police reform, and climate action, while also proving that dialogue was possible, even with his fiercest critics. Across the country and around the world, millions tuned into live news coverage, debating whether this was merely a political spectacle or the beginning of genuine conversation. In coffee shops and living rooms, people wondered if this unlikely summit could bridge the nation's deep divides, as the two leaders exchanged words, sometimes tense, sometimes surprisingly candid. The question lingered: could they, despite their starkly different worldviews and backgrounds, find any common ground on the issues that mattered most to Americans? For one day, at least, the possibility seemed real. Their handshake in the Oval Office became a powerful symbol, a fleeting moment of dialogue and hope in a nation often defined by division. Trump's rise, a billionaire-turned-populist president, was built on America First policies and a combative style. Mamdani, by contrast, is a grassroots organizer from Queens, championing tenants' rights and universal social programs funded by taxing the wealthy. Their backgrounds and ideologies could hardly be more different. Trump's market-driven nationalism versus Mamdani's call for public ownership and wealth redistribution. Yet, Mamdani's election in Trump's own childhood neighborhood hinted at unexpected crossover appeal. About 10% of Mamdani's voters had also supported Trump, revealing a shared anti-establishment sentiment. This meeting wasn't just Republican versus Democrat, it was a collision of two Americas. The stakes were high, and the nation watched for sparks, or solutions. The Gaza War was the main reason for this summit. Mamdani, a longtime critic of U.S. policy in the Middle East, had become a leading voice for a ceasefire and Palestinian rights. Trump's invitation was a surprise, signaling a willingness to engage with dissent. Mamdani brought a detailed peace plan, a two-state solution based on pre-1967 borders, demanding justice for Palestinians. For Trump, the meeting was a chance to address growing domestic pressure and appear open to new ideas. For Mamdani, it was an opportunity to bring activist demands directly to the seat of power. The Gaza crisis forced two ideological opposites to the table, making history in the process. Inside the Oval Office, Mamdani didn't hold back. In a room where diplomatic language often prevails, he spoke with a rare directness that immediately set the tone. His words cut through the usual pleasantries, signaling that this would not be a routine policy discussion. He accused the U.S. of funding what he called Israeli genocide in Gaza, demanding not just a pause, but an immediate and unconditional ceasefire. Mamdani insisted that all military aid to Israel must stop, arguing that continued support only fueled further violence and suffering. Beyond ending military support, he called for a massive increase in humanitarian aid for Palestinians, emphasizing the urgent need for food, medicine, and shelter. He painted a vivid picture of families displaced, children traumatized, and communities struggling to survive under blockade and bombardment. Mamdani's demands challenged decades of entrenched U.S. policy, connecting the ongoing humanitarian crisis to the broader, unresolved issue of occupation. He argued that the suffering in Gaza was not an isolated tragedy, but the direct result of a long history of displacement and denial of rights. He refused to soften his message, channeling the anger, frustration, and hopes of his supporters, both inside and outside the room. For many, Mamdani became a voice for those who felt ignored by mainstream politics. His approach was uncompromising, not to negotiate the details of aid packages or diplomatic statements, but to demand a fundamental shift in America's role in the conflict. He called for a new era of accountability and justice. The meeting became a platform for activist truth-telling at the highest level of government, a rare moment when the voices of protest entered the halls of power and refused to be silenced. Mamdani's performance was a bold, unapologetic critique of the status quo, challenging leaders to confront uncomfortable truths and reconsider long-standing alliances. He made it clear, real peace required real change, not just symbolic gestures. For Mamdani, justice and equality were not negotiable, and he left the room having forced everyone present to reckon with the true cost of inaction. Trump's response was measured and strategic. Rather than reacting impulsively or with his trademark bravado, he took a moment to assess the situation, weighing the potential political and diplomatic consequences of his words. This was not the Trump the public had grown accustomed to seeing in heated debates or on social media. Instead, he adopted a more deliberate and composed demeanor, signaling that he understood the gravity of the conversation at hand. Instead of his usual combative style, he listened, asked questions, and allowed Mamdani to present his case in full. Trump's body language was open, and he maintained steady eye contact, giving the impression that he was genuinely considering the arguments being made. This approach was a marked departure from his reputation for dominating conversations and steering them toward his own talking points. Trump expressed a general desire for peace, emphasizing the importance of stability and dialogue in international affairs. However, he stopped short of endorsing any of Mamdani's specific proposals, carefully avoiding any statements that could be interpreted as a firm commitment. His words were chosen with precision, reflecting a cautious approach to a complex issue. He offered no commitment to a ceasefire or changes in military aid, keeping his options open and refusing to be boxed in by expectations. This ambiguity allowed him to maintain flexibility, ensuring that he could adapt his stance as circumstances evolved without appearing inconsistent. This approach let Trump appear reasonable and bipartisan, willing to engage with differing viewpoints without alienating his core supporters. By striking this balance, he managed to appeal to moderates and independents while still signaling strength to his base. By inviting Mamdani, he projected strength and disrupted simple partisan narratives. The meeting itself became a symbol of openness, suggesting that Trump was not afraid to hear from critics or those with alternative perspectives, even if he ultimately chose not to act on their recommendations. The meeting became a showcase of dialogue over confrontation, highlighting the value of civil discourse in a polarized political climate. It sent a message that even the most contentious issues could be discussed respectfully at the highest levels of power. Trump gave Mamdani a platform, but made no substantive concessions. He listened, but ultimately held firm to his own positions, demonstrating both openness and resolve. In the end, he controlled the narrative, emerging as a pragmatic leader above the fray. By carefully managing the optics and substance of the meeting, Trump reinforced his image as someone who could engage with all sides while remaining firmly in command of his own agenda. Publicly, the conversation shifted to New York City's future. Despite vast differences, both leaders agreed on the urgent need for more housing and tackling affordability. Trump highlighted economic improvements, crediting his administration, and pledged federal support for the city. He praised Mamdani for retaining NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch, signaling a rare moment of accord. Yet, deep disagreements remain, especially over funding social programs and immigration. Mamdani's plans for free buses and universal childcare, funded by taxing the wealthy, clashed with Trump's economic philosophy. Their stances on immigration, Mamdani's sanctuary city policy versus Trump's hardline approach, promised future conflict. The cooperation was real but fragile, with major battles ahead. The Trump-Mamdani meeting sent shockwaves through American politics. Progressives celebrated Mamdani's boldness. Critics condemned his language and ideology. The same day, the House passed a resolution denouncing socialism, underscoring deep partisan divides. Media coverage was intense, framing the summit as everything from hopeful to cynical. Yet, the true significance lay in the act of dialogue itself. In an era of polarization, seeing two fierce opponents talk was a rare event. Their willingness to engage, despite deep disagreements, offered a glimpse of functional politics. Sometimes the most radical act in a divided democracy is simply to listen and talk.